Hey guys, hey, I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry it's taken so long for me to post a video in English, but it's just that I've been trying, and I've had just a lot of chaos, right? Especially with this video. I really wanted to do a Halloween treats kind of thing where I make little desserts or whatever for Halloween. But I've just had the worst fucking time of it, right? I've just had the worst fucking time of it. So I realised that I can't film in my kitchen without turning off my fridge because you can probably even fucking hear it now, it's very loud. And not in like a cute white noise kind of way, in like an abrasive way. So I tried to bake, I'll show you actually what I tried to make, these little like graveyard dessert kind of things, but also my kitchen's so small, the camera angle, I managed to I must have knocked my camera halfway through and I missed like half of what I was meant to be filming, the screen had cut off. So I did make these little like graveyard things, but also I couldn't find gummy worms anywhere, so then I had to use these strawberry laces, and it's just not the vibe. So I gave it one final go, right? I am gonna make something for Halloween, and at this point it wasn't even like I need to film for content, I need to put something out there. It was like I was getting angry with myself, like why can't I film a fucking video? I did manage to film bits of, and eventually come up with these little like French fancies. I say French fancies, I don't know if they're fondant fancies or what, I don't know what the difference is. I followed like a recipe for the cake itself, but then nothing else. And I also made them almond flavoured, so I don't know. I think I filmed a little intro in my kitchen where I talk about that, but then when I was trying to film the actual process, the fridge had to come back on because it took me like 5 hours. It was a ridiculous amount of time to decorate them, because I was using different colours of icing and whatnot. So I'm going to play whatever video I filmed in the kitchen now, and then I'm going to talk you through what I did, and I'm going to show you what I ended up with. I tried to film this video, but I tried to film like the baking element, where I was in the kitchen baking a cake, and then I baked something else as well, but the lighting was terrible, and my fridge whirring in the background was it was so loud. It wasn't even lo-fi. I couldn't even get away with saying lo-fi ASMR. It was just genuinely abrasive. So I'm trying again. I'm basically going to make some little Halloween cakes. I've already made the cakes, I'm just decorating them in this video. I've turned off my fridge temporarily, so I'm hoping that's not going to be a massive issue. So I'll show you what I've got under this towel. I basically made these little French fancies, and on the inside of them I've put this quince jelly that my boyfriend made. If you watched my yard sale haul, you'll have seen the quinces. And he managed to make this tub and also another little jar of jelly, and it's so good. It tastes a bit like roses, like rose jam, if you've ever had that, which I love. I love anything slightly floral. And then the actual sponge itself, I added just a bit of almond extract because I was out of vanilla. So you can see that almond extract, that's what I used. And I'm going for a French fancy vibe, but a Halloweeny one. I don't actually have a clear set plan, but I know the first thing I want to do is I want to do the little bubbles on top, like the Mr. Kipling ones. I don't know the difference between a French fancy, a fondant fancy, or any other type of fancy, so I'm just going to call these Halloween cakes to spare any debates. They're all slightly different sizes because the cake I made was slanted, but that adds a bit of character. And I have some coloured writing icing. I bought this today, but I also have a little box with various food colourings and whatnot in there. So I'm just gonna mess around really, and we'll see what we end up with. I know I'm gonna get shit for having my hair down, okay? I know I'm gonna get shit for it. But if you tie your hair up every time you cook in your own house, you're lying. You're lying. No one does that. And I'm not sharing these with anyone but my partner. So, hygiene out the fucking window. That's what I say. I've got my icing sugar here, and I've got some butter which I bought today. I'm just gonna whack those together in the mixer. I'm not gonna make an awful amount because I'm not using it as a filling, because I've already made like the jelly part in the middle. I don't want to put buttercream in there as well. If I had fresh cream, I'd maybe do that. But I find buttercream a bit sickly when it's a filling. I don't mind it as a topping. What I'm going to do now is mix like a 50-50 ratio of icing sugar and butter, but not a lot. And then I might add milk. I don't actually remember how to make buttercream, but I reckon I could freestyle it. I reckon I can DIY a little recipe right here, right now. As you can maybe see, I have a KitchenAid. I'm so blessed because my boyfriend's a chef. So I've got some good appliances. I don't have a microwave though, or a toaster, and that's not because we're like anti-microwave. I love microwave meals, but we just don't have space because we have silly things like KitchenAids and rice cookers and coffee machines. And we don't have a massive kitchen, as you can see. This is basically like the whole thing. The fridge is just behind you, so we have to prioritize. Washing my hands for those who care. Okay, just because it's Halloween, I'm gonna add this like scarlet food colouring to the buttercream as well, just to make it look a little bit bloody. It looks a weird colour on camera, and in this light it looks kind of reddish more than orange. Okay, so I have these little bags, they're icing bags. Take your time. There we go, just a good way. This reminds me of, if you've ever seen Hook, where they're having like the imaginary buffet kind of thing. And there's that like, and they throw some in his face, and it's like really vibrant looking food. It looks something like the sauce of like a chicken tikka masala, or like it looks like icing, I guess. If you've seen it, you'll know what I'm on about. And then on each of my cakes, I'm just gonna do a little dome like that. Hard to do it while holding the tray, but I feel it's the only way I'll be able to properly show you what I'm doing. Okay. Okay. You see what I'm going for. I use the stand mixer that we have in the kitchen, and I put the butter and the sugar in, added a little bit of milk, and it went like brown, and then I thought maybe like I accidentally mixed like cocoa powder when it was in the cupboard. Maybe I'd done something there, or maybe the butter was just very yellow. I couldn't figure it out. So then I thought, alright, well, I'd already made this buttercream, so I thought I may as well dye it red, right? Because it's Halloween, bloody whatever. Dyed it red, which I later came to regret. Let me tell you, I later came to regret that. These little cakes with like a round semi-sphere of icing on top, and then like fondant icing over the top of that. So I started piping them, and then I put those in the fridge, okay? And by this point I'd already taken about an hour messing about with the icing, the buttercream, and trying to figure out why it was brown, and I did some investigative work. I then put them in the fridge, and then I tweaked with them a little bit because I had buttercream left over, so for one or two of them I made them into like what I wanted to be like ghost shapes, and then one of them I gave it 2 little ears, and I thought I'm going to try and make a rat. I took it out the fridge, and by this point I'd realised that the reason my buttercream was brown was because I'd bought golden icing sugar. Who knew that existed? Golden icing sugar. Who's using that? What's that used for? Anyway, by this point I'd already made icing to go over the top, so I thought for my little rat, I thought I may as well stick to this brown colour. It's basically rat coloured anyway. I thought I'll stick to that. And I put the cakes onto these little like trays, and I poured icing over the top, and straight away I realised, oh shit, I shouldn't have used red buttercream. And this is why it took so long, because I had to keep putting the cakes in the fridge and then taking them back out, because I was trying to mask that like red buttercream colour because it was still coming through the icing. I spent hours spooning it on. Now I thought, it's Halloween, I can use red as like a Halloweeny colour, what should I make? So with 2 of the French fancies, I took a metal, like a skewer, and I tried to make them into little brains, the buttercream on top, and then again I poured red icing on the top, and I managed to get rid of some of the brownness from the icing sugar with that red food dye. But once again, the viscosity of this icing was a bit too thick this time, so I had to go in and again with a skewer, and after I'd put the icing on, I had to go through and make the brains all wobbly again. But I think they turned out okay. I then put them in the fridge because again I had to keep kind of layering them. And at this point I was like, I don't want to do all of them brown and red, and I thought if I were to try and make one of them blue or green, it'd come out a funny colour because of this golden icing. So I ran to the shop. I bought a load of white icing sugar. Thank God my corner shop had it. And then I tried icing my other ones with white, and again the red was just bleeding through. I've done a really bad job of hiding the red buttercream. What I realistically could have done is scraped off the buttercream and made another buttercream, but it just felt wasteful, and I thought I've already got it now, I may as well stick to it and just try and overcome this obstacle. I realised quite quickly that the white was never going to stay white, so I had to change tactic. I added blue food colouring to one of them, and I tried to go for a blue ghost, which has done a better job of hiding the icing. I piped little kind of droopy blue drips to make it look a bit like a ghoul. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna see the finished result. I'm not claiming to be proud of any of these, okay? I'm not claiming that I did everything right. I think I could have done a lot differently, and I didn't have fun making them towards the end. I was like, why the fuck are they not done yet? I was getting so stressed. It was like MasterChef. It felt like MasterChef. So I cut the tops off one of the ghost shapes I did, and I decided this is going to be a zombie, is going to be green. So for the other 2 I did green food colouring, because green cancels out red, right? So in my head I was like, green's probably my best bet here. So the little ghost shape I had, I cut the top of that to make it back into a little round head kind of shape, and the other one I just got rid of the icing altogether. And I thought, I'm just going to do it square, and I'm just going to pipe a little face onto that. The green ones I turn into zombies / Frankenstein. I'd say one's a zombie, one's Frankenstein. Anyway, and that's my very chaotic time in the kitchen. I'm going to show you the results, and you have to promise to be kind. You have to promise to be kind, because not my best work. But here we go. I'm hoping this is, you can see I haven't got a very clean outer edge, but I think that's okay. And this brain, I did black icing just to make the like center, whatever that is, whatever that part of your brain's called, the middle of the brain a bit more obvious. And you can see where I got my skewer and I went in there. I also piped some red icing, which is slightly darker than my other icing, just to try and make the little wiggles of the brain a bit more obvious. and I think they turned out the best purely because they're red, whereas with all the other ones they're not meant to be red, but you can still see the red poking through. And then we have my mouse, which is very much pink. It's very much a pink mouse, and I gave these little claws. I did a little nose, a couple of eyes, and some whiskers. So I promised my boyfriend that he could have the rat because that's his favourite somehow. I think my favourite is this little zombie here. So I definitely filmed a bit where I was icing the scars on there, and I gave him this little like head. What's it called? Head of hair. He has a little red nose and a black mouth, black eyes, and 1, 2, 3, 4 scars where he's been like stitched up. I think his hair is his best feature. I think he's really quite sweet. And have the ghost, and you can see at the back he's very red indeed. I can't tell you how much icing I added. Like, there should not be any red visible. I spent hours putting white icing, putting it in the fridge to set, taking it out, adding white icing. And maybe you can see in his face actually the like where I did blue icing, and I actually quite like that. I like the way it turned out. You can see here maybe I did like a bit of a drip effect. I'm hoping it's focusing, but it might not be. And same around his eyes, I did the blue first. I let that drip a bit, and then I added 2 eyes and a mouth. I think the ghost is sweet, but it's definitely going to be the sickliest because I added so much icing to that. And then finally we have, I'm going to say this is Frankenstein's monster. I went to a Halloween party a few years ago, and I was dressed as Frankenstein. And bearing in mind, I've read this book, right? I've read it a few times. I think I did an essay on it in like at A level. And there was this fucking annoying guy there. The most annoying person I've ever met. He was just nasty. Like, it wasn't even that's not me being mean. He was genuinely going out of his way to annoy people, to irritate people, to be mean to people, and criticize people's costumes. It was just fact. Anyway, this fucking little guy came up to me and he was like, "You know, you're not actually Frankenstein, you're Frankenstein's monster." Yeah, I do know. You know, he was dressed as Indiana Jones. So, because also the entire point of the book is like trying to, you feel sorry for the monster, right? So I'm not going to deprive him of a surname, the surname of his creator. I got my dad's name, so Frankenstein's monster gets Frankenstein's name. Okay, that's the patriarchy for you kids. That's the fucking patriarchy. Anyway, I ran out of icing, as you can see, so this guy's still a bit white, still a bit green, and you can see the quince jam coming out of the side there, but that's okay. So I think arguably very ugly, but I think they do have personality, and I think the fact that I spent so much time trying to make them adds to their value in my eyes. If I were to sell these, they count in for minimum wage and ingredients. I reckon I'd make about £60-70. No, longer. I'd make like £80. So I don't know how bakers do it, to be honest. Incredible work. And then just going back to this shit show of a piece. It was meant to be like a graveyard, so I cut a bourbon biscuit to be a grave. It's now soggy because it's been set in the fridge. And then I have 2 of these frogs, which are lime flavoured. I was very disappointed to find out. And then, yeah, strawberry laces as worms. And this was meant to be like soil, you know? And it's Angel Delight. I made it with Angel Delight, and then I grated bourbon biscuits. Put that in Angel Delight again, grated bourbon biscuits, and that's like this soil on top, which again is now it's gone rather gelatin. Anyway, so they're my Halloween treats. I'd argue it's more trick than treat, actually. My next video is going to be another French one, I'm afraid, for you Anglophones. purely because most of my viewers are French or French speaking. I still want to carry on doing videos in English, obviously, but I'm happy to do it in either language, and there's a much higher demand for me to make videos in French, so I'll probably just keep making videos in French, but I'll do them in English as well. But for my next video, it's a vampire roleplay, and I'm so fucking shit at roleplays, I really am. But when I speak French, I feel like it already feels unnatural for me to be speaking French, so doing a roleplay in French is far easier than doing one in English, if that makes sense. Because in English I'd also have to do like a vampire accent, which I'm not fucking doing. Whereas in French I already have an accent, you know. So. But anyway, I'm gonna add subtitles in English if I can figure it out. I'm really hoping I can. If not, I might have to use the YouTube subtitles. I think I can add those manually, so that my English viewers can watch that as well. But I won't be speaking in English because no one needs to see that. If there is a video you'd like to see in English for Halloween, let me know ASAP and I'll try and film it. Because I know I've been favouring my French speaking viewers. So that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry, I've tried so hard, and this is the best you're gonna get from me, okay? This is really the best you're gonna get. Lord knows I tried. So, I hope you have a lovely evening, and a happy Halloween as well, if you don't hear from me beforehand.